Tansei, I'm Krisanachikate. Welcome to APTN National News Daytime. Thank you for joining us. One teenager has died and another teenager has been arrested in a northern Manitoba First Nation. According to Manitoba RCMP, at around 2:25 p.m. on Saturday, November 1st, Manitoba First Nations police members responded to an assault at a home in the Opaskwayak Cree Nation. When police arrived, they found an injured 15-year-old girl. She was pronounced deceased at the scene. RCMP Major Crimes assisted with the investigation. They arrested a 17-year-old female suspect on Tuesday. The teenager, also from Opaskwayak, has been charged with manslaughter. RCMP say there is a family connection between the victim and the suspect and that it was not a random assault. The manslaughter charge has yet to be proven in court and the suspect cannot be named due to the Youth Criminal Justice Act. Opaskwayak Cree Nation is located beside the Pas and is 625 kilometers northwest of Winnipeg. The RCMP arrested 6 people last weekend in Terrace, British Columbia at a fundraiser for an upcoming youth basketball trip. The officers involved are being accused of being violent and denying medical care to at least one person. Part of the arrests were caught on video, and a warning: the images you are about to see are disturbing. At around 1:30 a.m. on Sunday, November 1st, staff at the Best Western Hotel called the RCMP to deal with a young woman said to be, quote, intoxicated, unable to care for herself, and was refusing to leave the hotel. The woman was arrested without issue. However, seen in this video, RCMP can be seen attempting to arrest another woman. RCMP say she ran up the stairs, yelling at them, and allegedly tried to grab an officer's duty belt. The woman was arrested, but RCMP called for backup when a crowd gathered. 6 people were arrested, one person complaining of shoulder pain and was released for medical care. In a statement to APTN News, Lynn Wright Parker wrote, I am one of 5 Indigenous women who experienced a violent arrest, denial of medical care, and unlawful attention at a public event where we were helping protect a young woman in distress. We are cooperating fully with formal legal processes. We are committed to truth, accountability, and community safety, especially for Indigenous women and our children. Because legal processes are active, I will not discuss detailed evidence publicly at this time. RCMP also say one member suffered minor injuries during the incident. You can read more about this story from our APTN News reporter Leanne Saunders by going to our website at aptnnews.ca. The Carney government unveiled its first budget on Tuesday with hundreds of billions of dollars in what they are calling investments in economic infrastructure to build Canada's economy. But the budget is getting mixed reviews from Indigenous organizations. APTN's Fraser Needham has that story.
At a Wednesday morning press conference in Ottawa, Assembly of First Nations National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Neepanak said her organization was pleased to see some investments in First Nations water and infrastructure, but the budget missed the mark when it comes to massive gaps First Nations people face in education and housing.
Instead of closing the socioeconomic gaps between First Nations and non-Indigenous Canadians, this budget is going to make things worse. Ignoring those long-standing gaps and environmental standards will not help fast-track resource extraction projects.
Speaking at the same press conference, Manitoba Regional Chief Willie Moore said that Liberals appear to be only interested in investing in First Nations if they are collaborative in resource extraction projects.
And recognizing that that the reconciliation is about respect and it's about justice and meaningful engagement, and not unconditional generational investment that is tied to resource extraction.
Métis National Council President Victoria Pruden said the MNC was pleased to see the 2% funding cut at Crown Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs and Indigenous Services was not as deep as some feared. But they're still disappointed there is very little Métis-specific funding.
What's missing in this budget is the level of commitment for distinctions-based funding for Métis governments. distinctions-based funding to ensure that Métis citizens, Métis businesses are being supported in the way that they need to be at this moment in time.
According to the budget document, programs for urban Indigenous peoples will receive $34 million for the 2025-2026 fiscal year, and then no funding for the next 4 years. National Association of Friendship Centers CEO Jocelyn Forensma said this means about a 75% funding cut for her organization.
I think I'm just really worried about what it signals for where this government's heading with reconciliation. I'm really concerned that reconciliation with Indigenous peoples is going to be contingent upon how we can demonstrate our benefit to the economy. And that's not really, what reconciliation was supposed to be about.
The Liberals still need to get the budget passed through the House of Commons. They are in a minority government, so they'll need at least 2 votes from the opposition to survive a vote of non-confidence and fend off an election. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, which represents all 63 First Nations in the province, gave their reaction to the proposed federal budget. A budget AMC Grand Chief Kyra Wilson says does not reflect the needs of First Nations.
Right now we are dealing with a budget, and I'm going to be completely honest here, doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
AMC Grand Chief Kyra Wilson says Canada should have consulted with First Nations leaders on how roughly $2.3 billion in budget cuts to Crown Indigenous Relations and Indigenous Services Canada might impact their people. She reminds that provincial and territorial governments do not represent the voices of First Nations peoples. She says there is still time for amendments and consultation, but adds engagement means little if the government doesn't listen to their answers.
Different levels of government for so long, for so many years, no more engagement. You have the answers, we've provided you the solutions, and it should be reflected in this budget, and currently it is not. I will say that there are definitely some very exciting opportunities in regards to resource development and major projects. You will be talking to First Nations about those projects. You will be getting the input and the permission from First Nations leadership. We are ready to have those conversations, but you need to respect our First Nations perspective and our opinions and our leadership.
The results are in. The Abenakis of Odanak and Wallinack have the proof they've been waiting for regarding American groups that claim to be Indigenous. The Abenakis in Quebec have been dealing with this issue for years, and at a recent press conference they revealed just how much First Nations blood those who claim to be Abenaki in Vermont actually have. APTN reporter Stephanie Dusav was there.
For Brenda Gagne, the chief of the Missisquoi Abenaki Nation, she is of 99.9% European heritage. Of Joe and Marge Bruchak, writers and academics, they are of 99.9% European descent. Of Paul Pouliot, chief of the Cowsuck band of the Panacook Abenaki, he is 100% of European descent.
Jacques Tewatso is councillor for the Abenaki Council of Odanak, a community on the south shore of the St. Lawrence River in Quebec. He revealed the results of a genealogical report on 8 individuals claiming to be Abenaki from Vermont and New Hampshire.
The conclusions are unequivocal. The individuals studied have no Abenaki ancestry. Some may have distant Indigenous ancestor, but they are neither Abenaki nor close enough in time to justify any legitimate identity claim.
Mandated by the councils of Odanak and Wallinack, the report was produced under the direction of University of Ottawa's Associate Professor Daryl Leroux.
Our methodology was rigorous. We consulted about 10,000 documents, including Canadian and American archives, academic databases, and recognized genealogical sources dating from the 1600s to the 2000s.
This genealogical research focused on the leaders of the 4 groups in Vermont. They were recognized by the state in 2011 and 2012 as being Abenaki tribes. In response to the report, the 4 Abenaki chiefs issued a statement saying, "The recent so-called report published by Odanak is junk science, compiled with bias and full of factual and interpretive errors."
I met a lot of people in my life.
In the 70s and 80s, Elder Danilo Bamsawin admitted to having shared his knowledge in good faith with people who claimed to be Abenaki. But now he feels disappointed after hearing the results.
Those people have not walked with us, have not shared the struggles and our grief, our celebration.
In February 2025, Councillor Watso and Professor LaRue presented a workshop at the Vermont State Capitol on identity appropriation entitled, "What If We Were Wrong?"
The issue is that the individuals in these groups do not have Abenaki ancestry.
The facts presented provoked strong reactions.
Who determines that?
Not up to you to say that. Actually did the genealogies of every single family that they claim in their own documentation. There's no Abenaki ancestors.
The American Abenakis say their personal experience is just as valid as blood quantum. But Rick Obamsawin, chief of the Abenaki Council of Odanak, reiterated the following.
I think the easiest way to respond to that is blood is blood.
The leader's intentions for the future are clear.
Will we bring all of this information to the state of Vermont? Yes.
According to Watso, the relationship with the Vermont governor, Phil Scott, is one-sided. They've been unable to meet with him about the validity of the Vermont Abenaki tribes. But he hopes this genealogical report puts pressure on Vermont.
On espère qu'avec ces démarches-là, il va, avec d'autres législateurs, s'ouvrir à faire une réforme complète du processus de reconnaissance en État du Vermont.
Stéphanie Desèvres, APTN National News, Odanak, in Quebec.
Time now to go to Vancouver Island, where APTN's Tina House brings us an update on a feature story she's working on.
Tansei, I'm Tina House. We're currently in Duncan, BC, here to talk to the Cowichan First Nation band members about how they feel the recent land claim decision affects them. We also want to know about the history of the village of Clactinus and what it means to the Cowichan Nation. We'll have that story coming up for you very soon.
Welcome back. Another First Nation is taking action against illegal drugs in their community, saying that their First Nation and the surrounding region is facing a drug crisis that is creating a series of safety concerns for everyone. The Red Rock Indian Band, located about 120 kilometers northeast of Thunder Bay, said they will evict anyone without notice who is allegedly selling, trafficking, or harboring drug dealers within their First Nation in provided or private homes. Red Rock leadership says every child deserves to grow up in a safe and healthy environment, and it's our responsibility as Anishinaabe people to care for our elders and children. In a statement, Red Rock leadership closed by saying, "Our mental health team at the band office can help connect you with resources you need. We understand how impacts of intergenerational trauma have led us here, but now it is time to reclaim our strength as a community." Two Métis Nation Saskatchewan officials were in Ottawa this week seeking federal support for culturally appropriate addictions treatment centres. M&S Justice Minister Brendan Morasti and Addictions Minister Beverly Fullerton told the Commons Standing Committee on Indigenous and Northern Affairs that addictions and gang violence has to be addressed immediately. Morasti said jails don't work and called for more land-based treatment centres like the Recovery Lake program in Pine House that fosters Métis identity, cultural values, and language. The ministers are urging the federal government to partner with them so all Métis communities in Saskatchewan have access to this kind of programming. Fullerton said issues like this can't wait for federal budgets or parliamentary studies.
What we need now is for the federal and provincial governments to stand with us, not just with words, but with funding, collaboration, and urgency.
We now want to tell you about this week's second web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, does your community have a plan to combat the opioid crisis? You can answer yes, no, or unsure. Go to our website at aptnnews.ca to have your say. Guy Day Chief heads up Indigenous Relations for Red Cross Canada, the organization he's been working with for the past 15 years. With winter almost here, Day Chief spoke with our Julia Ross about how you can be prepared for power outages and other emergencies.
There's been an increase in weather-related crises in recent years, and with winter coming, that could mean more power outages as well, especially in remote communities.
Power outages are closely tied to the weather, so make it a habit to monitor your local weather through television, radio, or the Moccasin Telegraph, chatting with your neighbors or local leaders, knowing what potential hazards or weather events may occur.
In addition to checking weather reports, Day Chief recommends making a plan with your household.
Making that plan with your family members, have a dry run through that plan with your household, including points such as, if you're all separated at one point, where is your meeting point going to be? How do you get in contact with each other? What are the routes to leave the community?
Then there's the emergency kit, something easily put together and stored at home. Keep it lightweight with food, water, ID, medication, cash, baby, and pet supplies.
I've heard this countless times working in response, whether it was First Nation communities or not. A kit just made that much more of a difference.
On top of an emergency kit, be prepared by keeping your home safe.
Implement items such as surge protectors, carbon monoxide detectors. I can't stress the importance of those. There are carbon monoxide detectors that have battery backup. Installing those, one on your top floor. If you have a basement, put one in your basement as well. And, keeping flashlights, extra batteries on hand, and a non-powered phone.
Day Chief says in a world full of cell phones, landlines are still reliable in northern communities and help to prepare and react fast in emergencies. And if you do have to bug out, keep your vehicles ready as well.
Here at home, we often keep our vehicles at least past half. So having that thought on how far is it going to take for you to get to the next gas station or the next community in the event of an evacuation, having your vehicle stocked with some of the pre-positioned goods, such as your Go Kit.
After a power outage, Day Chief says to check on your vulnerable neighbors, elders, friends, family, anyone with high needs and health concerns. Make sure everyone in your community is safe. And stay away from downed power lines. Those things can kill you. Julia Ross, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
A brand new mural has been unveiled at the First Nations University of Canada in Regina. The new mixed media art installation showcases the history and spirit of the First Nations University. The mural has been a legacy project months in the making and was led by alumni and created by students on the Regina campus. The piece tells the university's story through the eyes of its students, guided with teachings from the elders. It also shows the school's future for generations to come.
It's student storytelling, and the strength that they have, hearing what this place means to them and how it's transformed their life, and having that expressed again through song and dance and poetry and through visual art is just simply incredible for me. It's overwhelming.
The mural was made possible through a MasterCard funding grant. It's Thursday, and that means we have new previews from this week's Nation to Nation and APTN Investigates. We'll be right back. On the East Coast, St. John 7, Charlottetown, rain in 4. Cartwright 3, La Grande River, -3. Saint Jovite 5, Quebec City 6 and sunny. Sarnia 8, Peterborough 4. Big Trout Lake -7, Sioux Lookout -1. Churchill -11, Norway House -1. Brandon 2, Princess Harbor -2. +2 in Saskatoon, Regina +3. -5 in Buffalo Narrows, partly cloudy in La Ronge at -3. Fort McMurray -5, high level -4. 7 in Calgary, Edmonton -1. Vancouver 10, Canal 5. Smithers 4, Dease Lake -3 and cloudy.
Old Crow sunny and -13, Rock River -9. -6 in Wati, Norman Wells -5. Sax Harbor -5. Colville Lake -5 as well. -7 in Baker Lake and sunny, Chesterfield -4. And Arctic Bay -14, Igloolik -3.
Host Karen Pugliese joins us now from Ottawa to give us a preview of this week's Nation to Nation. Karen?
So on Nation to Nation tonight, as we know, the 2025 federal budget got really mixed reaction. Overall, the Assembly of First Nations National Chief is disappointed, and she says this budget is going to make things worse. But the Métis are pretty happy. So I brought in one of Canada's best-known economists to help us with the numbers. And Indigenous Services Minister Mandy Golmasti is here. She's going to explain what happened to multi-year funding. That's on Nation to Nation, and that's tonight after the news.
Thank you, Karen. The population of Pavernatuk, Quebec is booming, but their water infrastructure is breaking. For years, the Inuit community has had water shortages, and exclusive documents obtained by APTN shows that a permanent solution might be a pipe dream. This week on an all-new episode of APTN Investigates, video journalist Tom Fenario does a deep dive into the water crisis in Nunavik. Here's a preview.
With a population of over 2,100, Pavernatuk is the largest Inuit community on the Nunavik side of the Hudson Bay, and the second largest in all of Nunavik. About 2/3 of folks here are under the age of 30. For years, their population has been booming. There's a lot of kids playing in the streets. And because of the lack of housing here, a lot of overcrowded houses when they go home for dinner. Infrastructure everywhere is struggling to keep up. So the family house has an important role to play when it can stay open.
It was a sad moment for our community members who come here to do activities, because we were forced to be closed for a whole month to help with the emergency state.
In May, a state of emergency was called to combat a water crisis. Not only was there a boil water advisory for 3 months, some people went days, even weeks, without running water in their homes.
We had to even take snow from outside to do our own dishes, to wash our hands, even to deliver water to the elders. Some of them were saying, I've been thirsty, so I need water delivered. Once you're so used to having water to this day, it's very hard not to have it.
And you can catch APTN Investigates Pipe Dreams, the water crisis in Pavernatuk, airing this Saturday on APTN. Tom Fenario will also join us for tomorrow's newscast. Tell us more about this weekend's episode. And that's your daytime newscast for this Thursday, November 6th. Dennis Ward is back for your evening newscast, including an all-new Truth in Politics segment. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next day.